Welcome back, Pontiac High School students. Today's lesson is on the 3 different types of economies. Just what I promised you at the end of our last lesson. Let's see what's up. First, we've got traditional economies, which are nothing if not traditional. Traditional economies are built upon the customs passed on from each generation. So you do what your father did because you did what his father did, because he did what his father did, because he did what his father did, because he did what his father did. Tradition, custom. The economy produces the same products that they always have produced, and they're produced in the same way, and they go to the same people. This is a traditional economy. This is Stone Age, people. This is how it was done. That's why we were in the Stone Age for a really long time. How do we manage this economy? Well, traditional economies change very little over time, so they don't need a lot of management. But they usually only work in small tribal communities, because that's where everybody knows each other, everybody's looking out for each other, everybody's going to make sure that everybody in their community is doing okay. But they also need fewer resources. They're not building great, big, huge cities. It's a small collection of people. Now, the next step up this ladder is a command economy. Now, command economies have a central authority, and the central authority controls all of the factors of production. That is, the government or the king or whoever the center of this government is, controls all of the land, all of the labor, all of the capital. Basically, they own it all. It's all theirs. And they make all of the economic decisions. They tell you what to do, where, and who it's going to be for. Now, this economic system has existed for thousands of years, but recently we've kind of decided that maybe this isn't the best way to go. So the last couple of 100 years, it's really started to fade. It had a brief kind of resurgence in the Soviet Union, but it's kind of gone by the wayside again. Now, in a command economy, the government does own everything, like I said, and they distribute it however they wish. So we look at North Korea. North Korea is the best example of a command economy in the world today. Really, it's almost the only example today. Kim Jong-un owns everything. Everything is his, including all the land, all the labor, all the capital. It's all his. And he makes all the decisions in that country. And if he doesn't want you to get any food because he wants another part of the country to get twice as much, then that's what happens. It's a command economy. Now, he can choose to satisfy the needs of all people or the wants of just a few. It's all his. He gets to do what he wants. He's also very crazy, like very, very crazy and very dangerous. So steer clear of this guy. Like, seriously, look him up if you don't know. Like, wacko. All right, moving on. Market economies. In a market economy, individual people own the factors of production. That is, you own it. You can own land, that is resources. You can own capital, that is tools and money. And you can own your own labor, that is, you own yourself and your ability to do the work. And you get to make all of the decisions about how these products that you create are used and distributed. It's up to you. You do it. Now, every individual has this say. Now, we recognize that some ways of doing things work better than others, but if you want to do it a way that doesn't work, that's your choice. Competition and profit. This is what's going to drive the market economy. Because in a market economy, businesses and individuals compete to gain access to more resources and more profit. People want to be rich. And this is how a market economy functions, and it's why it functions. Because people want to have these goods. They want to have these resources. And successful businesses and successful individuals, by an economic measure, successful, do gain greater access to resources. That is, they get more land, more capital, and more labor over time because of their success. This is capitalism. This is how capitalism functions. We live in a capitalist society. This is our world. Now, the system in which the main goal of the economy is to encourage people to accumulate individual wealth. It's called capitalism. This is what our incentives are in place for. This is why you graduate high school, because that high school diploma is going to get you more money than if you didn't. This is why you really got to go to college, because that college diploma is increasingly a requirement of entering into the middle class in the United States. You got to have a degree in order to get enough money to live a comfortable life. That's capitalism, and it really pushes that individual wealth aspect of it. Now, within the system, people use both their wealth and their skills to acquire greater wealth. So once you have some money, you can, for example, if you've got enough money to buy 2 houses, you can rent one of those houses out to other people and get a second source of income. That is using wealth to acquire more wealth. You can also use your skills to acquire a high-paying job. All right, modern day economies. So in today's world, there are very few nations that perfectly meet the definitions for any of these three types of economies. There's basically no formal nation that is a traditional economy that doesn't exist on a national level. But the other ones kind of, sort of do. Most nations use different methods for involving different economic and social problems. We call these mixed economies. And basically, everybody's a mixed economy. That is, we're not totally on the command side or totally on the market side. The economy of China. We're going to look at the Chinese economy as one example. Prior to the 1980s, China was pretty close to a pure command economy. They were on the North Korea side of the scale, although without a total wacko at the head. So China had this command economy. The central government kind of controlled everything, determined who did what job and where resources went. Now, free market reforms in China led this government to sell off some, not all, but a good amount of their state-run businesses to private owners. This strengthened the Chinese economy incredibly. If you look right here, the total value of the Chinese economy through the 1960s, 70s, 1980, and then we get to 92, and then 2004. And if we were to continue this, we're looking at a very, very strong economy in China. By most measures, China is the second strongest economy in the world behind the US. All right, the economy of the United States. The US is one of the closest examples of a true market economy in the world. We fall way far on the other side of the spectrum, although not all the way. We do have some mixed elements. Individuals own almost everything in the United States. There is some nationally owned stuff, but very little is nationally owned. Almost the entire American economy is owned by individuals, people. Even in the US, though, there are many government services and businesses. The post office and NASA and all of those things, they wouldn't exist within a pure market economy. We wouldn't have a space program because there's no profit in space programs. So the government does put together some of these businesses, other services that wouldn't exist. We have a police force, right? You don't have to hire your own personal police force. We have a government that provides it for us. That is not free market, right? That makes us a mixed economy. So those are the three types. Traditional, which you barely need to remember, except for that it is built on custom and really doesn't change over time. We've got our command economies, which is really the government saying, I'm in charge, you're going to do what I want. And market economy, which is, you're in charge, you're going to do what you want. Those are our three systems. I hope you learned something today. I certainly did. Farewell.